Hey, welcome everybody. Again, would it be us if it wasn't a little technical difficulty? I don't think so. So I want to welcome back, first of all, Mike, for the first time. We actually have a name for this show. It is called Off the Record with Randall. And, the reason we chose that name is, Mike, there's a lot of things I love in life other than sports. So off the record is kind of getting out of my normal comfort level. So welcome to Off the Record.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that's a perfect name for you, Randall.
Off the record?
Yeah, because a little bit of everything comes out of you.
Yeah. Well, and this is also the debut of Freddie Freedog, the River City. I got to remember to go sideways. The River City merch is here, everybody. This is one Freddie Freedog. You can pick Freddie Freedog up. Contact me. We really don't have the. Here's the thing, Mike. I'm gonna quote a price for everybody, but it's not the price that I want to sell these for, but it's the price I want to sell them for in the future because we got a new manufacturer coming along. But right now we're going to sell these for $22.50 a shirt, Mike. Hoodies we're going to sell for $45, but really the shirts we got $22.50, and hopefully we can bring that down to $20 here very near future because we got a new manufacturer coming along. All the guests should get one free, don't you think?
Well, I was going to say, bring me one next week to work. I'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
Well, I like the look of it.
Yeah. We've got, these are the only black one I got. I really like the black one, so that's my favorite one. But Mike, this is the follow-up to Rubbing Butts, episode 1. But we really didn't talk about a whole lot today getting ready. But one thing I did want to get to, and this is a good place for us to start, is I barbecued this weekend. I did some burgers, did some dogs. I put a rack of ribs out there at one point and tried to do a little bit of ribs. And I noticed that my sauce was bad. So I ran to the store, grabbed some sauce off the shelf. Don't even remember what it was, Mike. Got home with it and hated it. It was so vinegary. And I'm used to like the Sweet Baby Ray's, the stuff like that is just a really sweet taste. And this was rough. Anna Lee's quote was, "Hey, this don't taste like our normal sauce." But what do you use at home, and what have you learned about just? And again, I know you do it differently for your butts, but just if you're cooking burgers on the grill.
Now, I've made the same mistake you've made. I went to Walmart, grabbed a jar, thought it was going to be great, come home, open it up, and was just completely disappointed. So like in my fridge, I've probably got about 8 different bottles of barbecue sauce.
Yes.
But it's, if I'm just doing burgers or something, it'd probably be a sweet sauce.
Okay. So what is a couple of sweet sauces on the market?
Everybody knows Sonny's, Sweet Baby Ray's. You can't go wrong with those. Sweet Baby Ray's is really good. It's kind of a Kansas City style. It's real thick, real sweet. Depending on where you're from, depends on what kind of sauce you like. I grew up Western North Carolina, which is kind of weird because I prefer an Eastern Carolina sauce or a South Carolina sauce.
What's the difference in East and West Carolina? Let's start there.
All right. So Western Carolina is, well, let me start with Eastern Carolina. Eastern Carolina is your apple cider vinegar, salt, chili pepper flakes, and that's pretty much it. You start boiling the vinegar a little bit, dissolve the salt, put the flakes in, let it cool down, put it in a jar, let it sit for at least 24 hours and go to town. It's basically straight vinegar and a little bit of pepper.
Okay.
Western Carolina, we like to knock a little bit of that tang off of it, add a little bit of brown sugar or ketchup. Personally, I don't like the ketchup in it. I would rather take the apple cider vinegar, I put a little bit of brown sugar, some salt, pepper, chili pepper flakes, and then I'll add a couple dashes of Tabasco sauce just to get a little bit of that red color in it.
So even for
Um,
your home barbecue, you're making your own sauce?
Most of the time for myself and my wife, I'll make the vinegar sauce. For the kids, they like the Sweet Baby Ray's or Sonny's, something like that.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times I'll pick up a bottle of Carolina mustard, the Carolina Gold. I like the tanginess of the mustard base. My family doesn't really care for it, so I'll buy a small bottle and I'll eat on that for over a year.
Right.
Um, if you're looking for brands, one brand that I really like is Stubbs. Stubbs is it was a mess sergeant from the Korean War, moved back to Lubbock, Texas, started a barbecue restaurant. He moved, I think, to Austin, Texas. His friends talked him into selling his sauce. So he made his own sauces, put them in used whiskey bottles, and sold them. Now it's commercialized. You can buy it at Walmart, and they've got just about any kind of flavor of Stubbs you want. I like the hickory. There's the original is really good. There's some that's got a little bit of heat to it. So far, I haven't found a Stubbs that goes wrong.
Now that's the. Let's just make sure everybody knows if they want to get it. It's in a. Well, I've got an example of the bottle here. If I can get it to focus on the phone, that would
Yep.
be your standard Stubbs bottle.
Yep. It's a thick glass bottle. Can't remember the price there. I think $3-4 a bottle.
It's a price pointed at Target for $3.99.
There you go.
Okay.
So, yep.
Now
Now you can actually go to their website. And a good thing about a place like Stubbs, they give you recipes on their website. So you looking for a way to cook some chicken, go to Stubbs' website. There's a tab up there that says recipes. They've got chicken, beef, pork, seafood. I mean, they've got a lot of good recipes on there. And personally, I like a company that's going to tell me how to cook using their sauces, or just give me ideas on other ways to prepare something.
right, and that's a great question there. I told you when we talked about it, I said this would start as one thing and lead into something itself. So when I'm home barbecuing, I'm really hamburger hot dog heavy.
Hmm.
I will do a steak occasionally, but I'm scared to death of chicken on the grill. So what do you cook, and what kind of safety precautions do you take on the grill that you wouldn't normally take when you were cooking in your kitchen?
So I've got a remote thermometer. $20 at Walmart. You plug the temperature probe in. Um, the one I've got has two probes. One goes into the cooking chamber, tells you your temp range, and the other goes in the meat. And that way I know when I hit my internal temperature. It,
Okay.
it's it makes it a little bit easier for me. I don't have to worry if I'm undercooking something, especially when you're smoking. Because when you're smoking, it doesn't always look as if I smoke a steak, a medium rare steak does not look the same as a grilled medium rare steak. It looks nothing the same.
So
Um,
that would go back to like a prime rib cut. Looks
uh,
really underdone, but it's very well.
no, it really for a smoked steak, it's not going to have that prime rib, uh, real rare look, but it will have a different coloration through it. So
Okay.
it just appears different. If you're smoking chicken, you get that smoke ring in it. Um, so it's not going to look the same as if you grill it. So it just, for me, I go for time and temp. I don't worry about so much the time as I do the temperature of the meat.
Okay.
And that's one good thing that I've learned from smoking.
So, um, all right. So we're dealing with your product mix. It sounds like you'll do anything on the grill. I mean,
Yep.
and I got a buddy with his green egg that says that meatloaf on the green egg is the greatest food ever. So
Yep.
I'm yet to
I,
try
I've
that.
I've had smoked meatloaf. I actually smoked some pizzas one time. Sounds crazy, but a big smoker, 18-foot smoker. I had a couple friends wanting me to do them a couple butts. So everybody brought some stuff over, and it didn't even take up a third of the smoker. So I just started going through the cabinets. I grabbed some ribs. I grabbed a couple pizza crust. I made up 4 different pizzas through in there. I mean, you can do just about anything on a smoker or a grill. Smoked macaroni and cheese is
Oh,
really good. Smoked meatloaf is probably the best you'll ever have.
the macaroni and cheese just perked Anna Lee's eyes up.
Yeah, that's one. I just saw something. It's a Chick-fil-A hack. All right, so I love Chick-fil-A. There's nothing better than Lord's chicken. Take get you a little Tupperware bowl. Put medium fries. Their waffle fries. 12-count chicken nuggets. A little cup of their mac and cheese. Buffalo sauce, ranch, and some of their Chick-fil-A sauce. Shake it all up. They look real good. I can't wait to go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I saw that on a bun.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing. They put it on the bun.
Yep.
All right. So in your meat, does your meat dictate your sauce? Like for me now, even though I say I don't do chicken myself, but when I go to a restaurant and I get, smoked chicken, I want a sweet sauce, a
Right.
really super sweet sauce on chicken. Does the type of meat dictate what sauce you use, or
For me, it does. For me, it does. And
Okay.
again, it's a personal flavor. I love the vinegar on my pork, but not quite as much on the chicken. I do like the vinegar in the chicken, but I like it, like you said, a little bit sweeter. So if I'm doing a chicken, I may use some of my vinegar sauce mixed with a little bit of Sonny's or Sweet Baby Ray's, just to kind of dilute it, knock a little bit of the sugar off, and kind of really add a twang to it, spice it up a little bit.
Right.
And then it depends on where you're at. Like Florida, they have their own version of a vinegar sauce, but it has like citrus fruits in it, and so they use that on a lot of fish.
Okay.
But it's kind of like a Cuban thing, so it's got the twang with some of the citrus in it.
Now I've seen that. I've seen that a couple of times, but do you find, and we'll get back into the more, do you find that I like grilled fish done with very little, like a lemon and salt and pepper, and that the smoke flavor with that combination. Now it really hits my palate well.
Right.
I've tried putting some different sauces, even tried a mustard sauce on fish. Nothing seems to mix with fish. Do you have a something that you use?
So, used to be a seafood cook, living in Florida. I don't eat fish anymore. But when I was younger, I did. Like we used to go trout fishing a lot. Now my grandmother, she prefers. I love the cup.
Y'all like my show
Yeah,
cup, my little pony cup going
pinky
on.
pinky pie on there.
Yeah. It's what happens when you have a daughter? You inherited all of her hand-me-downs.
Yep. So my grandmother, she prefers on her fish just a malt vinegar. And growing up, I hated vinegar. I hated the smell of it.
Right.
Like it would make me gag. And now that's actually one of my favorite sauces. But when I was younger, we would go trout fishing, go fly fishing in North Carolina, up in Cherokee. My uncle and I would camp out. We would catch trout. We would fillet them, put them in a piece of foil with lemon, pepper, and butter, and just put it right next to the coals.
Yeah.
Cook it straight like that in a piece of foil. Pick it up and eat it.
Yeah.
A lot of times simpler is better. I think a lot of times when people start cooking, they try to overcomplicate. We can't just do the salt, pepper, that us white folk are known for, but we can't get too much into it because then you just start making it too complicated and you'll ruin it.
Well, that's a good point too, Mike. You're making. Does the freshness of fish and chicken really affect the taste when you smoke it? Because
The freshness of any food will affect that.
okay,
You know, I'm very picky, peculiar about chicken. All right, like I, I'll I wear rubber gloves when I'm handling chicken at all times. Um, and it's not part of it is just because of the sanitary aspect of it. Part of it's just because I am disgusted by raw chicken. Like there's few things that gross me out, but the feel of raw chicken is the worst. And you know, if I open up a pack of chicken and there's any question about it, we're having something different for dinner and it's going in the garbage.
right.
I opened up a pack the other night of chicken breasts and it just, to me, it looked a little slimy and I was like, nope, not even trying it. I'm not going to risk it. Um, Chicken is probably one of the worst that'll make you sick.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
easiest.
the worst sick I've ever been in my life was one time off a turkey and one time off a chicken. If you get sick off of poultry, I didn't eat turkey for about 5 years.
Man, I used to do roofing in Mississippi and I worked at I believe it was Sanderson Farms, a chicken processing plant. We were working on the roof and I would not eat chicken for about 5 or 6 years after that. And I wasn't even inside the facility. I was on the roof of the facility.
That will make you.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's get back focused on this again. So whatever the is the I guess from harvest to cook, it makes it better. Do you use any refrigeration or aging in the process for either beef, pork? I mean, because like if I'm going to cook a steak, it's about a 2 day process for me.
So basically, you're doing a marinade and letting it sit in the fridge for about 24 hours.
Yeah, and
Um,
I
and a
also
lot of
don't.
times, do what?
I hate using the microwave.
Yeah,
It seems
yeah,
to just destroy the meat.
yeah. Um, the fresher the better, obviously. Um, I've unless you're doing a steak, an aged steak is where it's at. You know, one of my goals is to buy a spare fridge to go into my garage, and that way I can store stuff. I really want to do a aged ribeye. I
Okay.
saw the other day at I believe it was Kroger. They had the ribeyes, like the whole rib section, that you could buy, and I think they were on sale for like $60, and it's normally
Right.
$100 for a section, which would give you about 8 or 9, 10 big ribeye steaks. Um, so I want to buy some dry aging bags and age my own steaks and try that.
Okay.
I've done a lot of reading on it, a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, and supposedly they come out like butter. And you know, if I spend $60 aging my own steaks for what I would pay $60 for one steak,
Yeah.
then that's a win for me.
Well, and back to the quality of meat. One of the things I hear a lot of times is, what's the difference in like a Ruth Chris steak and a Outback steak? Well, a lot of times it's the quality of meat from the cut,
Yep.
but it's also the aging process. The best steak I've ever ate in my life, Mike, was a one that one of my friends would do. Then he would age it in butter,
Yeah.
and just build a cocoon around them, and they were delicious. So, um, when your steaks are non-aged, what is the process that you go to your local butcher, say you're going to cook you and the family a steak on Saturday night? When do you pick up your meat and what's your prep like?
So I'm pretty lucky. I have a meat processor right up the road from my house, a small processor. Um, I used to do a lot of business with them, and it was a family-owned business. You know, I would feed my whole factory, so I would call them up, and they would get me 350 ribeyes that were all sized the same.
I know a factory that you worked at now that would like fed too, but will not.
Yeah, yeah, we're working on that one. So, I had a good relationship with them. I could go in, pick up steaks. I went in there recently. It's been sold to a younger couple. They still do a great job. I went in, bought some steaks, and these things were massive. They were really good. I prefer a ribeye. Ribeye has a lot of marbling in it. That's just my personal cut. My wife prefers filet mignon. Personally, I don't see the point in wasting bacon by wrapping it around a steak. So it's, for me, I want a ribeye, really, really marbled. If you have a lot of fat on the outside, I'll trim it up a little bit. That fat tends to get kind of hard. And personally, I don't want to chew on a big chunk of fat. It's just, I like it cooked in there for the flavor, but I'm not going to sit there and gnaw on a big hunk of fat.
Well, and we both got kids, and I think when I can bring a great steak home to Anna Lee, and if it's got an excessive fat on it, it makes it more difficult for a 10, now 11-year-old to cut her own steak.
Yeah.
To eat the steak, it becomes, so if I'll get a little of the fat off of it, that's a little easier to eat for my little girl.
Yeah.
Because that stuff will harden up to bad.
Yeah. So what you can do is you can take some butcher's twine, and once you've kind of trimmed it up, you can actually tie twine around it, and that'll keep it in its shape and hold it. It makes it look a little bit better. It's not something that you have to do, but while I'm getting everything ready, I'll let my steaks sit out, and I'll go ahead. I don't usually marinate them ahead of time. It's just not something I've ever really needed to do. There's been times I've tried different marinades and they all come out good, but I like to just put salt, pepper, garlic, or a little bit of my rub on it. I'll let it sit on the counter and kind of come up towards room temperature before I put it on the grill. Or a lot of times I'll do my steak in the oven. I'll do it real low and slow in the oven, take it out and pan sear it hot, and just to kind of finish it off.
So it never really goes to you're not grilling it. You're
now. Sometimes I will grill if I'm going to grill. I'll grill it, but some days I just want a steak and I don't want to go sit outside. So I'll do it usually if I'm gonna do an oven steak, it's going to be later in the evening.
Right.
And I don't want to be outside. I'd rather be in the house doing other stuff. But there's times, man, I want to fire up the grill, throw me some steak, some potatoes, some asparagus on the grill, and just go to town. But usually that's like a Saturday afternoon, middle of the day.
Right. And then a little tip from, I'm not the expert Mike is, but one thing you can do is follow that process and just throw a few coals on your grill and then get it super hot, take it out of the oven and go it out and throw it for 2 minutes both sides on your grill.
Yep.
And you'll get a lot of that same flavor. But yeah, that's something. And sometimes that actually cooks better, Mike, because the steak is a little more, the oven's more controlled than your grill. So I get that real nice char on the outside.
Yep.
But that center of that steak, I can keep it that pink that I want it to. So yeah.
So that's a reverse sear method. And it gives you a little more consistent, so people argue back and forth. I'm gonna start on the grill and finish in the oven, or I'm going to start in the oven, finish on a grill. It's personal preference. Personally, when I cook my steak medium rare, oven to grill or oven to cast iron skillet, it is medium rare all the way through. If I start out on high heat and go to low heat, outside will be more done than the center. Yes, both of them have a medium rare center, but mine is medium rare all the way through. So for me, it's a consistency in the meat.
Right. And then I really enjoy that opposite sear. I like the steak to be less done as I go through it. I want that. I almost want to start at a well done,
Right.
finish at a medium, or So when you throw that blackened crust on it, you
Hmm.
get that first. You get really, and then so that's one of the tricks. I guess I was doing. I didn't even realize it. So
Now, something else you can do is you can get some wood chips. You can buy the little bags of wood chips at Walmart or just about anywhere. Like you said, you throw a couple coals in the charcoal grill.
uh huh.
Once they get burned in, throw you a couple wood chips on there. That'll give you a wood smoke. You can get. They've got like a whiskey flavor. They've got all kind of different flavors. You just throw a couple of those on there, put your meat up there, and then you get that wood smoke in it.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So
Right, and that's something else I've done. I'll do my coals on the grill, push them to the outsides, put a little bit of wood chips around it, put the meat in the center, and let it just kind of slow cook on the grill that way.
now, what would you do that way? Would that be a beef steak?
Yeah, I've done steaks, I've done chicken, hamburgers. You know, hamburger done that way, it infuses a lot of that wood smoke into it.
Well, I begin to wonder if we're ever going to get you to admit that you cook a hamburger.
Yeah, hey man, I love hamburgers. I'm not
I'm a
so big on hot dogs, but I love hamburgers.
All right. So getting back to the sauce, so just for a second, I grew up with a Southern Baptist church mom who would go every Saturday to the grocery store and bring home Kraft barbecue sauce for 99 cents, probably back then. Really super sweet.
Hmm.
But what she wanted to do, and I mean, I loved it when she done it. She would cook these things almost done, get them up on a super high heat, throw that sweet sauce on it, and almost marbleize it.
It's caramelized.
Yeah, caramelize. You're correct. So, and it would give it a different taste at all together
Hmm.
too. So when you apply your sauce, does that change what you taste in the sauce profile?
It does because a lot of times what you're going to want to do, and depending on what you're cooking, depends on how you apply the sauce. If you're doing ribs, you've got to constantly mop the ribs to keep them
Right.
juicy. Um, Doing chicken, barbecue chicken, you don't usually put the sauce on until near the end. Crank the heat up a little bit and caramelize that sauce, and it gives it that kind of a tacky,
Uh,
sweet.
yeah, if you get it on your fingers, it'll.
Yeah, that sticky sweet.
Okay.
So it's um, personally, I like my sauce on the side. I want to taste my meat and then accompany it with the sauce. So I prefer not to douse everything in sauce until I know how it tastes.
So when you go to a restaurant, and I know this conversation's all over the place, but so you go into a like what's a place you go that you like their barbecue in a restaurant? Is there?
Um, so we have up here in Cookville, we have Rib City.
Okay.
Rib City's got fairly decent barbecue.
So you go to Reed City, you get a rack and it's dry,
Hmm.
and then you apply. Do you just dip or what do you do?
Usually I dip. So I'll now I like to kind of go. I like to sample the sauces. So I'll see what different sauces they have, and I'll go through and try um, whichever one they have and figure out which one I like the best. And
Right.
usually at a restaurant, I wind up with Carolina Gold.
Okay. Now that is an actual golden looking sauce, correct?
It's a mustard based. It is Carolina mustard. It's South Carolina their mustard based sauce. So there's no ketchup in that sauce at all.
My God, this show makes me so hungry every time we talk about it. Sitting here
Hey,
hearing my belly. Hey, my belly. You know how big my belly is. You got a 300-pound guy grumbling right now.
now
Awesome.
if you want to get into ribs, go down to the homeland, go down to Tuscaloosa. Dreamland Barbecue down there. Now, the first time I ever had an Alabama white sauce was at Blue Moon Barbecue right outside Tuscaloosa.
Right.
It's right down the road from the stadium. Friend of mine recommended going to Dreamland. I went in there. They have racks of ribs. You walk up to the restaurant, and the doors were smoked with. You could see the smoke on the
Yeah.
glass,
Yeah.
and I was like, "All right, this is going to be good." Went in. I asked them to do the sauce on the side. The ribs are actually they're not smoked, but they're grilled over a wood pit,
Okay.
and they're actually smoking them out in front of you, so you can see the pits and everything. Um, Brought me my rack of ribs. I had the sauce on the side. Man, those were the best ribs I have ever had.
And what's the name of this place?
Dreamland Barbecue.
Oh yeah, I'm Dreamland. I'm all with you here.
All right, now and they're scattered all over Alabama.
There's
So
nothing like the one in Tuscaloosa though.
yeah,
And
they're exactly.
I even went to the one. I asked the guy that manages the one in Tuscaloosa why his were better than the one in Birmingham, and his reason is his grill or his grates have been 30 years of grease on them, so they taste better.
Yep.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite. Now, my friend Phil hates Dreamland and says the meat's poor and all this. But what I appreciated about Dreamland was everything was cooked really nice. And I go down when I go to Tuscaloosa, it's my first stop. Everything is cooked really nice. The sauce is really nice. But I find too the fact that the one at Tuscaloosa really didn't serve sides. So you were
Yeah.
thinking about the meat. And,
Yep.
and for some reason, that was a different experience for me.
Now we went to the one in Huntsville. So I brought back a rack of ribs to my wife and daughter from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
it's what a 3 hour drive. They
Yeah.
didn't even heat them up. They just grabbed them out the box and devoured them. Honestly,
And
I thought they weren't going to like them, and I was going to get to eat them. But
I,
no, they devoured them.
I've drove from Chattanooga to Tuscaloosa, got ribs and brought them home. So
Yeah. Well, we went last year down to Florida. I stopped in Huntsville. Actually, we stopped at a couple. They were closed, so we came back. On the way back, I stopped in Huntsville. Went to Dreamland there, and it wasn't good. I mean, it wasn't bad, but my wife and kids hated it.
Yeah.
It was nowhere near what I had remembered from Tuscaloosa. So I mean, it's the same restaurant,
Yeah. It's the same
just
chain. And
different location.
I can say I've had a similar experiences. I've never hated it because a good rib's still a good rib. But the quality of the ribs from Tuscaloosa is much better, I thought, than Birmingham or Huntsville. I've ate at them both.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like Tuscaloosa. But yeah, my favorite restaurant's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Try that now. But I
That's
even
all right.
lived down there.
That's all right. I know where you used to live.
Yeah, I even lived down there, and they just Dreamland was a once a month, or not once a month, once a week thing for me, and I've had a hard time replacing it. But I've
Blue
tried.
Moon,
I've
Blue
tried.
Moon down there. They've got a good pulled pork with the Alabama white sauce too.
Okay, I'm not now. Tell me about that. I don't know about that one at all.
So Blue Moon is right off and they've got a couple locations, but they're right off of the Tuscaloosa campus. When you go to the game, they actually have a coupon on the ticket for Blue Moon Barbecue. So they're
Okay.
one of the big sponsors. That's kind of how I ended up going there to try it. And it was the first time I had ever seen Alabama white sauce. Um, the white sauce is a mayonnaise based barbecue sauce.
Which sounds
Um,
disgusting, but
it does. It sounds really gross. I don't even care for mayonnaise. Like that is not something I go and put on anything.
right.
But it was really good. And here, I told you earlier that I've had where I've gone to the store, bought barbecue sauce, and it was absolutely disgusting.
Right.
Do not buy the glass jar of Alabama white sauce from Walmart. Um,
Okay.
it tastes like freaking latex paint. It
Yeah.
was it was the worst thing I have ever tried in my life. Like it was so bad, I didn't even bother to take it back and get my $3 back. I wasn't wasting my time. I just threw it away. It was, I mean, it was just like house paint. So do not
So to
go
the
to Walmart
quality
and buy the Alabama white sauce barbecue sauce.
to the quality of meat we discussed early, let's add and this is going to be crazy. And before we get away tonight, I want to cover one more subject, but real fast, everybody, let me do some promotion here. River City Media, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. We have 3 shows that's produced every week. Off the Record, which Mike and I do occasionally together to get this barbecue. Last week, we did a bourbon tour. So this is going to be everything I love in life that isn't sports. It could even be sports. I've got a show coming up with Camden Smith, local musician. The Bourbon Guys will be back, and of course, Mike will be back in a couple of weeks. At 8 o'clock tonight, the 3R Sport Report with Robbie and Raj and I will be discussing some of the ramifications of the recent change in the NCAA transfer portal. And then on Thursday night, the OA with Philip Chaplin and myself. It's really Chappie's program. It's on Chappie's Sports, Chappie's Fantasy Sports Chap. Find us there, or you can find us here. So just give us a like, give us a follow, and we're here for the long run. There's a lot of good things happening, but we do appreciate our fans. Now, Mike, back to your bad barbecue sauce. Have you ever found a sauce that you just that's my go-to, or are you always experimenting?
I'm pretty much always experimenting, but I would say restaurant base, it's going to be Carolina Gold.
Okay.
Um, that one is just, it's mustard with a little bit of spices in it. So it's, if you like mustard, you can't go wrong. Um, a lot of the vinegar based sauces that you find in restaurants aren't authentic vinegar based. It'll be a sweet sauce that's cut with a vinegar. Um, so I mean, I'm gonna try it. I'll try pretty much any of them. Sometimes I'll combine one or two, three, and use what they have to make my own.
Right.
You know, it's when I was younger, I preferred the sweet sauce. As I got a little bit older, that's not so much what I want. I don't want all the sugar in it. So if they've got a good sweet sauce, I may put a little bit of vinegar sauce in it to cut it down.
So to your point, now I'm not that guy. I can usually, and I do mix sauces too, and I usually go for their. I like a lot of times I'll try the original because
Hmm.
I always figure the original is what got them there. That was what they originally done, and I want to taste that original.
And that's usually going to be their sweet sauce too.
Yeah, and it usually is. I like a little heat, but I notice a lot of times you can get heat in barbecue sauce, and it just overpowers everything.
Yep.
What do you use as a guideline for heat?
So that's when I do the vinegar. That's where usually I have my heat in the sauce. Um, First time I made it was great. I followed a online recipe that I found, and I do this a lot. I'll look up a recipe. You know, I get an idea in my head. Hey, I want to try something.
Right.
I'll look up recipes. I look for something that has pretty much whatever I have. Like if I start looking and it says you need a red wine, white rice wine vinegar, I'm already out. I don't
Yeah.
have that in my
Yeah.
cabinet, and I'm not going to the store just to buy a bottle for something I'm gonna make one
Right.
time. So I look for a recipe with real world ingredients that I'm already going to have or I'm going to use again. Um, I'll try that recipe and then I'm going to play with it. And like I'll have it almost done. I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe it needs this. And so I'll start messing around. People ask me for a recipe, like for my Alfredo sauce. I'm like, just look on the internet, get you one, because that's all I use. And then I don't measure anything. It says like 2 cups of Parmesan cheese, and I'm just like, there we go. That's about enough, you know. So the first time I made a vinegar sauce was really good. Second time I made it, I couldn't hardly eat it. It burned me up. So I did learn to kind of measure out the pepper flakes, because those will, after they sit for 24 hours, those things get pretty strong and they'll come back and bite you.
Right. And I've done that myself. I like a little heat, a little. So when you make that original, like I'll make enough for 2 batches.
Hmm.
The first batch is perfect, but if you let that sauce set for 24 hours or 72 hours or 48 hours, I don't know how I jumped over 48, but I did. But let it set for a couple. It can get some heat to it.
Yep.
You
So
can
that's, you've got to know your seasoning. Peppers, they're going to get hotter as they sit. So, or pepper flakes, because they're going to start breaking down into that vinegar or into
Right.
that oil, and they're going to start, that vinegar will start taking on more of that pepper flake profile. So that's where you've got to, you know, it may not look like enough now, but think about the long run. You know, you make a pot of chili, you're putting your cayenne pepper in. It's not hot right now, but tomorrow you're
Yeah.
probably going to be like, man, I probably shouldn't have used this much.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's one of the things I take pride in making.
Yeah.
And they've been a couple of times I've made batches, and it was great for 24 hours.
Yep.
Then I'd come back and get that second bowl or third bowl the next day, and it would be so hot I couldn't eat it. So
Yep.
I've run barbecue that way. I really like, and that's where I wanted to get to this last 15 minutes. Um, I know it's not barbecue, but it's all over the market now. Is wing sauce.
Hmm.
I struggle, and I do a wing on a grill. It's one of the few chicken things I'll do. The wing is cooked already, so I'm just
Warming it back
really
up,
putting the
basically.
sauce on it out there. But I tend to overpower, and I do it with steaks too. When I try to put a little heat into it, I tend to overpower my meat. So give me a tip. If I called you up and say, "Hey, Mike, I'm getting ready to cook. This barbecue sauce seems a little hot. How do I
So
bring it down?"
melt you a little bit of butter. Melt you down
Okay.
some butter and put in there a little bit at a time, and that will start bringing that heat profile down. Um, I don't I don't remember exactly why, but that's like if you take some Frank's Red Hot,
Yeah.
which I know a lot of people use that for their wing
That,
sauce.
that's my basis of my wing sauce, and it
All
does.
right.
After a couple of days, it'll get hot on you.
Oh yeah. So you take that, you melt you down a little bit of butter, mix it in, um, and kind of get it to where you want it, and then put it on your chicken.
Okay.
And that's, I don't know what it is about the oil in the butter, but it will bring down the heat. Someone will probably call me out because that's not correct, you know, the oil or whatever. But the butter, for some reason, does cut that heat profile down and make it a little more bearable.
Would make sense because when you've ate too hot of wings, the only way to get the fire out of your mouth is butter. I mean,
Yeah.
milk. So, all right. So, we got about 10 minutes, Mike. Walk me. I want to take a steak. I want to take chicken, and I want to take a burger, and maybe even some pork ribs here. Let's walk the process, and let's start with the steak. Mike on Thursday night decides he's going to grill Saturday. Let's walk that process.
So again, I'm not going to marinate most of the time.
Okay.
I've done it couple times for a steak. I don't feel that it's so important because I want that crust on the outside from my seasoning being seared. Chicken, I will marinate. All right, because that chicken can dry out really quick.
And there's nothing worse than a bad piece of chicken.
Right. So you want to kind of marinate or brine your chicken or turkey. If I'm making like when I'm cooking a turkey for Thanksgiving, I brine it for 24 to 48 hours in a 5-gallon bucket in the bottom of the fridge.
I don't know
All right.
what that term means, so explain it.
So brine is I take my butterball.
Okay.
Depending on how I'm going to base my turkey, if it's going to be a salty based or salty seasoning, I'm going to use a sweet brine. Basically, I'll take a gallon of water, bring it up to a boil, mix in some sugar, some different seasonings like some orange, some apple. Put that in a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up the rest of the way with cold water, let it come back down to normal temperature, and then put my turkey in it and let the turkey sit. The turkey absorbs a lot of that flavor and that seasoning into the meat. Now, when you take your turkey out and you start cooking it, you're starting out with a turkey that is well hydrated. It's already very moist. A lot of times what I do for a turkey is Tony Chachere's, actually, hang on, let me say it properly, Tony Chachere's Cajun butter injection marinade. All right. That is the best thing for a turkey. Now, I keep a couple cans of Tony's down in Louisiana. It's just Tony's. But Tony Chachere's, I keep cans of that at the house. I use that to season anything.
Right.
That stuff is probably one of my favorite seasonings. But
If you've been to Louisiana, you've ate it.
oh yeah, it's in everything. It's on everything. But when I'm doing a turkey, brine it, pull it out. I'll take that Cajun butter marinade. You buy it at Walmart in a little bottle. One bottle will do a turkey. Comes with the needle. Just go around, inject the meat everywhere, put it in a roasting bag, pop it in the oven until the timer pops out. And I mean, so far, I haven't gone wrong with that marinade. But
All right, so go ahead. Sorry.
no, like I was going to say, if I'm doing a steak, just salt, pepper, garlic, or sometimes I'll do like an applewood rub, something like that on it. Low and slow, and then sear it real hot, real fast to get the crust on it and kind of seal in everything. Steak, pork, chicken, you really need to let it rest after it's done for a couple minutes so the juices kind of come back into the meat. If you pull it off the grill and slice it immediately, all the juice runs out.
And that
So you want to let it sit before you cut it.
Is that all meat?
I know steak and pork you really want to let it rest. I'm pretty sure fish does. Chicken, chicken needs all the help it can get. All right,
Okay.
because it's pretty dry.
Okay. Now, burgers are probably the number one thing that people make on the grill. Burgers and dogs. Dogs, if you mess up a dog, you probably need to go get some help. It's hard to mess up a hot dog. It's hard to
Yeah.
mess up a hot dog. I like to take my burgers and I like to experiment.
hmm
Sometimes I put a little burrito mix on the inside. Sometimes I'll throw a little bit of cheese on the inside. Sometimes I will load up the inside with garlic, and then uh, one of the things that I love to do is even I do onions on the grill, butter,
Yes.
garlic, do that. What food do you experiment with? Is it burgers? Is it veggies? What do you just like? I'm gonna do this different every time.
Burgers. Definitely burgers. And like you said, I like to try putting different stuff in the center. I bought one of those handy little uh it's designed to make the little hole in the burger and makes two halves. You pack it full of cheese, put it together. It was a complete failure. It's one of those ultimate kitchen items that I wasted my money on, but now I
Right.
know. So a lot of times I just put different seasonings in the meat as I'm making the patties.
Okay.
Um, I'll do like a Montreal steak mix,
I
or
love
I'll
Montreals.
yeah, I think it's really good in burgers. Dale's that Dale's marinade, once you get your burgers pattied up, pour a little bit of Dale's on each burger while it's cooking. Can't go wrong there. I like to play with the toppings on burgers. So like you said, I'll do some onions. My wife loves mushrooms, so I'll saute her up some mushrooms. Um, put down some foil, put down a little bit of olive oil, some asparagus, put some garlic parmesan or some garlic herb grill mates on the asparagus. Let it roast on there about 10, 15 minutes. Can't go wrong with that. I love to put feta on a burger. So onion, lettuce, feta, some maybe some bread and butter pickles. My mother-in-law makes the best bread and butter pickles I've ever had.
Yeah.
So
That's a good conversation right there. Feta with bread and butter. That's a good combo.
Nothing like, smells horrible, but feta cheese goes on just about everything.
So, and I think you're onto something there. I have different combinations I make. Like, and there's also, for some reason, I got in the habit of making mustard, ketchup, plain burger pickles. That's it. I love it.
Yeah.
And then the next time it'll be lettuce, tomato, onion, little mayo, and that's it. So
yeah,
burgers someplace you can. Not all burgers are the same.
Yep. Now I'll tell you something that's good. Do you like your hot dogs crispy? Like when they've been grilled, you want them crispy.
Yeah.
Take a little bit of butter, melt it down, and while you have it on the grill, brush the butter onto the hot dogs. It will crisp up the skin, cause them to crack, and those are real good. Sometimes I'll take what's the name of it? There's Mama something, I don't remember. Pimento cheese. Buy it at Walmart. It's like a Greenville, South Carolina pimento cheese. Take you a hot dog, put some pimento cheese on it. Man, you can't go wrong.
Wow. Do you know how hungry I am right now? If you watch this show and you're not hungry right now, you don't have a soul. I'm just going to call it out.
Man, I tell you, I had a friend when I was lived in North Carolina. He looked at me one day. He said, man, he was black. He was like, man, I think you're half black. I said, why? He said, look at how you pile your food up. I was like, man, I just like to eat.
Yeah.
I like different food. So it's, just pile it all together and see what works.
Well, Mike, I swear we could do this show every week for 3 or 4 hours and just, but I got to wrap her up. I got 8 o'clock, everybody. 3R Sports. Raj Mehta, Robbie Davis, myself will be back. We got about 4 topics we're going to cover. The NCAA portable. Mike, there's something we're going to do tonight. You're going to probably like. We're doing, you got to lighten it up sometimes. So we're going to do a review of uniforms. And the number 1 and number, let's see, was it 4 and 5 helmets in the NCAA that was voted recently by one of the websites was Penn State's and Alabama's. And I hate both of them because they're so plain.
Yeah.
But, we're going to debate that tonight. Also tonight, we're going to talk about all the injuries in Major League Baseball. And come join us. We'll get ready for the draft. Draft day special coming up next Thursday night, starting at 7:30, lasting until Robbie's had too many beers. And we'll go as long as we can. But, Mike, I appreciate you joining me again. Can you give us, first of all, plug anything you got to plug? And second, what's your closing thoughts, or give us a tip, or because I'm going to go eat. I'm looking at chicken right now, barbecue.
Yeah.
Buds.
So find you a sauce that you like, find the ingredients that you're comfortable with, look up recipes online, and start playing with those recipes. You're not going to get any better if you don't start experimenting. One thing, Randall, I'll tell you, you should look up the dumbest baseball stadiums in high school sports.
That's we need to do that one.
So I looked at some today, and some of them are just unreal. So
it's like 100 foot, and then a train track, and then the rest of the
a building sticking out in the middle, center field, 230 foot.
You're the second person that's brought that up to me. Mike, before we get off here too, let's plug your church. I know you're very active in it.
So, yep, Life Church, Cookeville, Tennessee. We are online, livelife.church, broadcast every Saturday, 3 services on Sunday. Wife's over the nursery, so I get to play with little kids all the time, get to work on cameras. So if you're ever up in the Cookeville, Sparta area and you're looking for a church, come see us.
Well, Mike, we've kind of got this on a rotation now. We'll be back again with it. The next time, hopefully, we kind of had to put it together real fast this time. Next time, maybe we'll have be able to do even a little live demo or something. I hadn't thought about that till today, but I'd like to actually watch you maybe prepare something, not smoking because it takes so long, but maybe we could get the camera set up where you're preparing a bud or something. That'd be really neat for everybody to see.
I did that for my wife the other night. I was cooking something and she was like, "Are you going to put on a cooking show?" Because she wasn't here, so I was FaceTiming her. And so I basically walked through just like I was doing a cooking show, and it was pretty funny.
That would be fun for us to do. Maybe we'll plan that out. But again, everybody, thank you for joining Mike and myself here on Off the Record with Randall. It's RiverCity-Media, home of Freddie Free Dog. And we'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight with Raj, Robbie, and myself. And Mike, we'll see you in a day or two.
All right. I appreciate it. Had a good time.
Oh, man, I love doing this. I swear, I'm so hungry right now.
I'm starving.
I'm going to eat before this second show. All right, bud. We'll see y'all. Thank you, everybody that joined us.
Later.